Jake Morrison stood in front of the mirror in his small cabin aboard the research ship Horizon's Edge. He pulled at his blue uniform jacket and made sure his hair looked neat. Today was the day they would meet aliens for the first time. Real aliens from another planet. His hands shook a little as he fixed his collar. Jake had studied alien languages and cultures for years, but he never thought he would actually meet any. He was just a xenobiologist, someone who studied life from other worlds. Most of his work had been looking at microbes and small creatures from distant planets. Now he was about to shake hands with intelligent beings from the stars. Commander Lisa Stone's voice came through the speakers in his room. All crew members report to the main deck. Our guests will arrive in 30 minutes. Jake took a deep breath and walked out of his cabin. The hallways of the ship buzzed with activity. Other crew members hurried past him, all looking nervous and excited. Dr. Alex Turner, the ship's medical officer, walked beside him. "Can you believe this is really happening?" Alex asked. He carried a medical kit and several scanning devices. "I've been dreaming about this day since I was a kid." Jake nodded. "Me too. I just hope we don't mess this up. First contact is kind of important." They reached the main deck where Commander Stone waited with the rest of the crew. She looked calm and professional, but Jake could see the excitement in her eyes too. She had been chosen to lead this mission because she was good at talking to people and solving problems. "Listen up, everyone," Commander Stone said. "The Vexarians will dock with us in a few minutes. Remember your training. Be polite, be respectful, and let me do most of the talking. We want to make a good first impression." Through the large windows, they could see a sleek silver ship approaching. It looked nothing like human ships. Instead of sharp angles and straight lines, it had flowing curves that reminded Jake of a seashell. Strange blue lights pulsed along its surface. "They're beautiful ships," someone whispered. The alien ship connected to theirs with a soft thud. Jake's heart beat faster as they waited. What would the aliens look like? Would they be friendly? Would they be able to understand each other? The airlock door opened with a hiss. Commander Stone stepped forward as three figures walked through. Jake's mouth fell open. The aliens looked almost human, but not quite. They were tall and elegant, with smooth skin that seemed to change colors in the light. Their eyes were larger than human eyes and seemed to glow softly. They wore simple white robes that flowed as they moved. The alien in front raised her hand in what looked like a greeting. She spoke, and a small device on her belt translated her words into English. "Greetings, humans of Earth. I am Zara Keth, lead scientist of this research vessel. These are my colleagues, Miradul and Elder Viralox." Commander Stone stepped forward and raised her hand in the same way. "Welcome aboard the Horizon's Edge. I am Commander Lisa Stone. We are honored to meet you." Zara Keth's large eyes seemed to study each human carefully. "We have traveled far to meet your species. Your transmissions have reached our world, and we are curious to learn about your people." Jake noticed that Miradul, who looked younger than the others, kept looking around the room with wonder. Her eyes stopped on each human face as if she was trying to memorize them. Elder Viralox stood quietly, but her gaze was sharp and intelligent. "We have prepared a presentation about our culture and biology," Commander Stone said. "We hope you will share information about your people as well." "Yes," Zara Keth replied. "We are scientists. We study life throughout the galaxy. Your species is very interesting to us." They moved to a conference room where both groups sat around a large table. Commander Stone showed pictures and videos of Earth, human cities, and human families. She explained how humans lived, worked, and raised their children. The Vexarians watched with great interest. They asked questions about human technology, human society, and human relationships. Jake noticed they seemed especially curious about families and children. "In your species," Zara Keth asked, "do males and females both care for young ones?" "Yes," Commander Stone replied. "Both human men and women take care of children. We share the responsibility." The three Vexarians looked at each other with surprise. Miradul whispered something in their language that the translator didn't pick up. "This is unusual," Elder Viralox said slowly. "In our society, only females care for the young. Males contribute to reproduction but have no role in nurturing. Dr. Turner leaned forward. That's fascinating. Human males can actually help feed babies too. Our biology allows for it. Jake saw Zaraketh's eyes widen. She said something quickly to the others in their own language. The translator struggled with the words, making strange beeping sounds. Could you explain this further? Zaraketh asked. How do human males feed young ones? Commander Stone looked at Dr. Turner, who began explaining about bottles, baby food, and different feeding methods, but Jake could see that the Vexarians were confused about something. Perhaps, Zaraketh said carefully, we could study human biology more closely. We would like to understand how your species works. That would be wonderful, Commander Stone agreed. We're very interested in learning about Vexarian biology too. Jake volunteered to help with the biological studies. He had always been curious about alien life, and this seemed like the chance of a lifetime. He had no idea that his eagerness to help would soon lead to the most embarrassing moment of his life. As the meeting continued, Jake noticed that Miradul kept staring at him and the other human men. She took notes on a strange device and whispered to Zaraketh several times. Whatever she was thinking about seemed to excite her greatly. The first day of contact ended with both groups agreeing to spend several more days together, sharing knowledge and learning about each other. Jake went to bed that night feeling happy and proud. He was part of the first contact between humans and aliens. He had no idea that tomorrow would bring questions he never expected to answer, and situations that would make him wish he had stayed in his cabin. The next morning, Jake woke up feeling excited about the day ahead. He put on a clean uniform and walked to the medical bay where Dr. Turner was setting up equipment for the biological studies. The Vexarians had asked to learn more about human bodies, and Jake was happy to help. Dr. Turner had arranged several machines that could scan the human body without hurting anyone. There were screens that could show bones, organs, and blood flow. Everything looked very professional and scientific. Ready for this? Dr. Turner asked as he checked the equipment one more time. Jake nodded. I've always wanted to contribute to real scientific discovery. This is amazing. The three Vexarians arrived together, carrying their own strange devices. Zaraketh wore what looked like glasses that glowed softly around the edges. Miradul had several small machines floating around her head like metal butterflies. Elder Viralox carried a device that looked like a crystal tablet. We are grateful for your cooperation, Zaraketh said as she entered the medical bay. Our species learns much from studying the biology of other life forms. Jake lay down on the examination table while Dr. Turner began the scans. The human machines hummed softly as they took pictures of the inside of his body. The Vexarian devices made no sound at all, but Jake could feel them somehow looking at him in ways he couldn't understand. Miradul watched the screens with great interest. Her large eyes grew even wider as she saw images of Jake's heart, lungs, and other organs. She said something to Zaraketh in their language, and both aliens became very excited. Your internal structure is remarkable, Zaraketh said. Very similar to ours, but with important differences. Dr. Turner pointed to different parts of the scans and explained what each organ did. The Vexarians asked many questions about human hearts, brains, and digestive systems. Everything seemed normal until they started talking about reproduction and childcare. These are the human mammary glands, Dr. Turner said, pointing to an area on Jake's chest. Both males and females have this tissue. The three Vexarians suddenly became very quiet. Miradul stared at the screen, then at Jake, then back at the screen. She said something rapidly in her own language. I apologize, Zaraketh said slowly. Could you repeat that information? The translation device may have made an error. Dr. Turner looked confused. I said that both human males and females have mammary tissue, for feeding babies. Elder Viralox stood up quickly and walked closer to the examination table. She studied Jake's chest with her glowing crystal device. Her face showed great surprise. This cannot be correct, she said. Males do not possess feeding capabilities. This is impossible in any species we have studied. Jake sat up on the table. Well, human males can produce milk under certain circumstances. It's not common, but our bodies have the ability. The room became completely silent. Miradul dropped one of her floating devices, and it clattered on the floor. Zaraketh's skin changed from its normal blue-green color to a bright purple. Elder Viralox made a sound that the translator couldn't interpret. "You must explain this more clearly," Zaraketh said, her voice sounding strained. "Are you saying that human males can nourish young ones directly from their bodies?" Dr. Turner nodded. "Yes, though it's not typical. Human males have all the same mammary tissue that females do. With the right hormones or stimulation, they can produce milk just like women." Jake had never seen alien faces show so much shock. Miradul was writing notes so fast that her hands were a blur. Zaraketh kept staring at Jake as if he had grown a second head. Elder Viralox was speaking rapidly in her own language. "In our society," Elder Viralox finally said, "only females can produce nourishment for offspring. Males contribute genetic material and then have no biological role in childcare. They cannot feed, they cannot comfort, they cannot provide physical nourishment." Jake began to understand why the aliens were so surprised. On Earth, human fathers help take care of babies in many ways. We can hold them, comfort them, and yes, sometimes even feed them naturally. Miradul suddenly stepped closer to the examination table. Her eyes were bright with scientific curiosity. "We must study this phenomenon. This could change everything we know about gender roles in biology. Could we verify this claim?" Zaraketh asked carefully. "For scientific purposes, you understand. This discovery would be revolutionary for our people." Jake looked at Dr. Turner, who seemed just as surprised by the alien's reaction. "I suppose we could run some tests, but I'm not sure what exactly you want to know." Miradul pulled out a device that looked like a silver wand. "We need to examine the mammary tissue more closely. Our scans show the structure, but we need to understand the function." She reached toward Jake's uniform shirt, her scientific excitement making her forget about human customs. Jake suddenly realized that the examination was about to become much more personal than he had expected. "Wait," he said, holding up his hands. "What exactly are you planning to do?" Zaraketh's skin continued to pulse with purple colors. "We must document this capability. If human males truly can lactate, it contradicts everything we know about mammalian biology across the galaxy." Dr. Turner stepped between Miradul and Jake. "Let's slow down here. We need to establish proper protocols before any detailed examination." But Elder Viralox was already calling on her communication device. Jake could hear her speaking rapidly in the Vexarian language, and he heard the word council translated several times. "I've contacted our High Council," she announced. "They must be informed of this discovery immediately. This could affect our entire civilization." Jake looked around the room at the excited aliens and realized that what had started as a simple biological survey had suddenly become something much bigger and more complicated. He was no longer just a volunteer helping with scientific research. He had somehow become the center of what might be the most important discovery in Vexarian history. "Maybe we should call Commander Stone," he suggested weakly. Miradul was still holding her scanning device and looking at him with intense curiosity. "The examination must be thorough," she said. "We need to understand every aspect of this remarkable adaptation." Jake swallowed hard and wondered what he had gotten himself into. Commander Stone arrived in the medical bay within minutes of Dr. Turner's emergency call. She took one look at the excited Vexarians, Jake's worried face, and the various scanning devices pointed in his direction, and immediately understood that something had gone wrong. "What's the situation?" she asked calmly, though Jake could see the concern in her eyes. Elder Viralox stepped forward, her crystal device still glowing brightly. "Commander Stone, we have discovered something that will change both our civilizations. This male human possesses biological capabilities that we believed were impossible." Miradul bounced on her feet with excitement. "He can produce nourishment for offspring. Males in our species cannot do this. No males in any species we have studied can do this. It's revolutionary." Commander Stone looked at Jake, who shrugged helplessly. "They want to study male lactation," he explained. "I didn't realize it would be such a big deal to them." Zaraketh's skin was still changing colors rapidly. In Vexarian society, males exist purely for genetic contribution. They mate and then have no further biological role with offspring. Females alone possess all nurturing capabilities. If human males can actually feed young ones, it would destroy our entire social structure. Elder Viralox finished. For thousands of years, we have organized our civilization around the belief that only females can nurture. If males can also provide biological care, everything we know is wrong. Commander Stone held up her hands. Let's all take a step back. This is clearly a significant cultural and scientific issue, but we need to proceed carefully. Miradul was not listening. She was too excited by the discovery to think about anything else. She moved closer to Jake with her scanning device, her eyes bright with scientific curiosity. We must verify this immediately, she said, reaching toward Jake's uniform. The mammary tissue must be examined directly. Our council requires proof. Jake backed away from her reaching hands. Whoa, hold on. What exactly are you planning to do? Dr. Turner stepped between them again. Any examination needs to follow proper medical protocols. We can't just start poking and prodding without consent and proper procedures. But Zaraketh was already pulling out more devices from her robes. This discovery is too important for delays. We need detailed scans of the mammary tissue structure. We need hormone level measurements. We need to understand how human male lactation works. Elder Viralox was still speaking rapidly into her communication device. Jake could hear more Vexarian voices answering her, all of them sounding very excited. The High Council is sending additional researchers, she announced. This discovery must be documented completely and immediately. Commander Stone realized the situation was getting out of control. Everyone please stop. Jake, you don't have to agree to anything you're not comfortable with. But Jake could see how important this was to the Vexarians. Their entire understanding of biology and society was being challenged. He wanted to help, but he also didn't want to end up as some kind of scientific specimen. Look, he said, I'm willing to help with research, but we need to do this properly, with respect for everyone involved. Miradul nodded eagerly, but she was still holding her scanning device ready. Of course. We just need to examine the tissue closely. Perhaps if you removed your shirt, we could get better readings. Jake's face turned red. I don't think I'm ready for that level of examination. Zaraketh stepped forward. You must understand, this is the most important scientific discovery our species has made in centuries. If human males truly can lactate, it changes everything we believe about gender, biology, and society. It also changes everything we believe about childcare, Elder Viralox added. In our world, males are considered useless after reproduction. If they could actually help raise young ones, our entire civilization would need to be reorganized. Dr. Me. Turner was trying to mediate between the excited aliens and the uncomfortable human. We can certainly do some tests, but they need to be non-invasive and respectful. Miradul was practically vibrating with excitement. The readings we're getting show definite mammary tissue development. The hormone levels suggest potential for lactation, but we need direct verification. She reached out again, this time with both hands, toward Jake's chest. Her scientific enthusiasm had completely overridden any sense of personal boundaries. Jake jumped backward, nearly falling off the examination table. Could we maybe start with less hands-on methods? Commander Stone decided it was time to take control of the situation. Everyone stop right now. Miradul, please step back. Zaraketh, put your devices down. We're going to establish proper protocols before any examination continues. But the Vexarians were too excited to listen to reason. They had spent their entire lives believing that males were biologically limited to reproduction. The idea that human males could actually nurture offspring was turning their worldview upside down. You don't understand, Zaraketh pleaded. This discovery could free millions of Vexarian males from lives of purposelessness. If we can prove that males in some species can nurture, perhaps our own males could learn to do more. Elder Viralox nodded vigorously. Our society wastes half its population by limiting males to genetic contribution only. If biology allows for more, we must learn how. Jake could see the importance of what they were asking, but he was still overwhelmed by their intensity. I want to help, I really do. But this is all happening very fast. Mira Dahl had put away her scanning device, but she was still staring at Jake's chest with intense curiosity. Perhaps just a small examination? For science? Commander Stone sighed and activated her communication device. Medical team to Bay 2. We need to establish proper research protocols immediately. As they waited for additional crew members to arrive, Jake realized that his simple offer to help with biological studies had turned into a diplomatic crisis. The Vexarians weren't trying to be inappropriate. They were scientists making what they considered the discovery of a lifetime. But he was the one who would have to decide how far he was willing to go to help them learn about human biology. And, judging by the eager expressions on all three alien faces, they weren't going to be satisfied with simple explanations. The medical bay filled with people as more crew members arrived. Commander Stone had called for the ship's psychologist, another medical officer, and the diplomatic team. Everyone looked confused about why they had been summoned for what was supposed to be a simple biological study. Elder Vera Lox was still talking rapidly into her communication device. Her conversations had become more urgent, and Jake could hear multiple Vexarian voices responding to her calls. The translation device picked up words like emergency, council session, and immediate verification. The situation has become more complex, Elder Vera Lox announced to the room. Our High Council has declared this a matter of planetary importance. They are sending our most senior scientists to verify these claims. Commander Stone looked alarmed. How many scientists? A full research team. Perhaps 20 individuals. They will arrive within 2 days. Jake felt his stomach drop. What had started as him volunteering to help had now become a major interplanetary incident. He was going to be studied by 20 alien scientists who wanted to examine his body in detail. Dr. Turner was setting up privacy screens and additional medical equipment. If we're going to do this, we need proper protocols. Jake has the right to refuse any examination he's not comfortable with. Mira Dahl was pacing back and forth, her excitement making it impossible for her to stand still. But the scientific importance cannot be overstated. This discovery could change everything about how we understand biology. Zaraketh was reviewing data on her glowing glasses. Our preliminary scans show definite mammary tissue development in the human male. The hormone levels suggest functional capacity, but our council requires physical proof. Jake sat on the examination table and tried to process what was happening. Physical proof of what exactly? Lactation, Elder Vera Lox said simply. Our scientists must see evidence that human males can actually produce milk. The room became very quiet. Jake looked around at the faces of his crewmates, all of whom seemed as shocked as he felt. You want me to actually produce milk? For alien scientists? Jake asked slowly. The process can be induced with the right hormonal treatments, Dr. Turner said carefully. But it's not something we would normally ask someone to do. Commander Stone stepped forward. Jake, you absolutely do not have to agree to this. We can find other ways to share scientific information. But Jake could see how important this was to the Vexarians. Zaraketh was looking at him with desperate hope. Mira Dahl had stopped pacing and was watching him with intense expectation. Even Elder Vera Lox, who had seemed dignified and formal, was staring at him pleadingly. If I don't do this, Jake asked, what happens to your society? Zaraketh's skin changed to a sad blue color. Our males will continue to believe they are biologically useless after reproduction. They will continue to live empty lives with no purpose beyond mating. Our society will continue to waste half its population. And if you can prove that males can nurture? Commander Stone asked. Everything changes, Elder Vera Lox replied. Males could participate in childcare. They could contribute to society beyond genetics. Families could be partnerships instead of female-dominated units. Jake thought about the impact his decision could have on an entire civilization. Millions of Vexarian males were living purposeless lives because their society believed they were biologically limited. If he could help change that, what would the process involve? He asked Dr. Turner quietly. Hormone treatments over several days, Dr. Turner explained. Some discomfort, but nothing dangerous. The process is reversible. Miradol stepped closer, her eyes bright with hope. We would document everything carefully. The research would be conducted with complete medical supervision. Jake looked at Commander Stone, who nodded slowly. It's your choice, Jake. No one will think less of you, whatever you decide. The ship's communication system suddenly came alive with incoming messages. Elder Vera Lox listened to her device, and her face became very serious. The council has made a decision, she announced. If the human male cannot provide proof of lactation, they will declare the claims false. Our society will continue as it has for thousands of years. And if Jake does provide proof? Commander Stone asked. Social revolution, Zaraketh said simply. The liberation of half our population. Jake realized that the choice wasn't really about him anymore. It was about the future of an entire species. He thought about all the Vexarian males living empty lives, believing they were useless after reproduction. He thought about families that could be partnerships instead of one-sided arrangements. I'll do it, he said quietly. The three Vexarians immediately began talking rapidly in their own language. Miradol actually jumped up and down with excitement. Zaraketh's skin changed to a bright, happy gold color. But, Jake added quickly, we do this properly. Medical supervision, privacy, and respect for everyone involved. Commander Stone nodded approvingly. We'll establish protocols that protect Jake while allowing for proper scientific documentation. Dr. Turner was already making plans for the hormone treatments. We'll need a few days to prepare. The process can't be rushed. Elder Vera Lox bowed, formally to Jake. Your sacrifice will be remembered in Vexarian history forever. You may be saving millions of lives from purposelessness. Jake smiled nervously. Just remember that when your 20 scientists arrive and start poking me with instruments. As the room began to empty, Jake stayed on the examination table and wondered what he had gotten himself into. In 2 days, he would be surrounded by excited alien scientists, all eager to witness something they had believed was impossible. He just hoped he wouldn't disappoint them. The future of an entire civilization might depend on his body's ability to do something he had never imagined he would need to do. Commander Stone stayed behind as the others left. Are you sure about this, Jake? Jake nodded. Someone needs to help them. If it's me, then it's me. You're a good man, she said. And probably the bravest xenobiologist in human history. Jake laughed nervously. I just hope I'm also the first human male to successfully lactate for aliens. That would be embarrassing to mess up. 3 days later, Jake stood in the modified conference room that had been converted into a proper research laboratory. Dr. Turner had worked around the clock to ensure everything met both human medical standards and Vexarian scientific requirements. Privacy screens provided dignity while still allowing for observation and documentation. The hormone treatments had been uncomfortable but effective. Jake's body had responded exactly as Dr. Turner predicted. Now, surrounded by 20 of the galaxy's most distinguished Vexarian scientists, he was about to make history. Zaraketh led the assembled research team, her skin glowing with excitement. Miradol stood beside sophisticated recording equipment that would document everything. Elder Vera Lox had brought several members of the High Council to witness the demonstration personally. Before we begin, Commander Stone announced, I want to remind everyone that Jake Morrison is volunteering for this research. He deserves our complete respect and gratitude. The Vexarian scientists nodded solemnly. Their excitement was obvious, but they maintained professional dignity. This was the most important scientific moment in their civilization's history. Dr. Turner checked Jake's vital signs one final time. Everything looks normal. The hormone levels are exactly where they need to be. Are you ready? Jake took a deep breath and nodded. He had spent 3 days thinking about this moment. The knowledge that his decision could change the lives of millions of Vexarian males had helped him overcome his nervousness. The demonstration itself was surprisingly simple. Dr. Turner provided gentle stimulation while the Vexarian devices recorded everything. Within minutes, Jake's body responded exactly as human biology predicted it would. The room fell completely silent as the first drops of milk appeared. Several Vexarian scientists made soft gasping sounds. Miradul's recording equipment captured every detail while displaying the results on large screens for everyone to see. "Remarkable," Zaraketh whispered. "It's actually happening." Elder Vera Lox stepped closer to observe the process directly. Her ancient eyes filled with tears as she watched something her people had believed was impossible for thousands of years. "The male truly can nourish," she said in a voice filled with wonder. "Biology has not limited him to genetics alone." The demonstration continued for several minutes while the Vexarian scientists took measurements, recorded data, and documented everything from multiple angles. They tested the milk composition and found it completely functional for infant nutrition. When it was finished, Jake felt drained but proud. The room buzzed with excited conversation as the scientists reviewed their data. Every measurement confirmed what they had witnessed. Human males could indeed lactate and provide direct biological care for offspring. Zaraketh approached Jake with formal ceremony. "Jake Morrison of Earth, you have given our species the greatest gift possible. You have shown us that our beliefs about male biology were wrong." The other scientists began a ritual that the translation device couldn't interpret properly, but Jake could tell it was some kind of honor ceremony. They were treating him like a hero who had saved their civilization. Elder Vera Lox activated her communication device and began transmitting the research data directly to the Vexarian homeworld. Within hours, the entire planet would know that males were not biologically limited to reproduction alone. "What happens now?" Jake asked. "Revolution," Miradul said with excitement. "Social changes that will transform our entire civilization. Males will demand the right to participate in childcare. Families will be partnerships. Our society will finally use the potential of our entire population." Commander Stone watched the celebration with satisfaction. This is what first contact should be about: species learning from each other and growing together. Dr. Turner was collecting samples of the research data to share with human scientists. "This discovery will be important for human medicine too. We've learned things about male lactation that we never knew before." As the days passed, reports came back from the Vexarian homeworld about the massive social changes Jake's demonstration had triggered. Males across the planet were demanding equal rights in childcare. Traditional family structures were being questioned and reformed. Universities were opening new research programs to study gender roles in biology. The Vexarian research team decided to extend their stay to learn more about human society. They were particularly interested in how human males and females shared parenting responsibilities equally. Jake found himself giving lectures about human family structures, child care practices, and gender equality. The aliens hung on every word, taking notes and asking detailed questions about everything from diaper changing to bedtime stories. "In human families," Jake explained, "both parents can feed babies, comfort them, play with them, and teach them. We don't limit roles based on gender." The Vexarians were amazed by this concept. In their society, males had been excluded from all nurturing activities because of the belief that they were biologically incapable of providing care. Miradul had become particularly interested in human child psychology. If males can nurture from birth, children must have different relationships with both parents. "That's right," Jake confirmed. "Human children bond with both mothers and fathers. They learn different things from each parent, but both relationships are important." 6 months later, Jake received a message from the Vexarian homeworld. The social revolution had been successful. Laws had been changed to allow males equal participation in childcare. Families were being restructured as partnerships rather than female-dominated units. The entire civilization was adapting to the new understanding of male capabilities. Zaraketh had become the head of a new research institute dedicated to studying gender roles across different species. Miradul was leading programs to retrain Vexarian males in childcare techniques. Elder Vera Lox had been honored by the High Council for her role in documenting the discovery. Jake returned to his normal duties as a xenobiologist, but his experience had changed him. He had learned that sometimes the most important scientific discoveries come from the most unexpected situations. Commander Stone recommended him for a promotion and a medal for his contribution to interspecies relations. The human government was considering establishing permanent cultural exchange programs with the Vexarians. "Do you ever regret your decision?" Dr. Turner asked him one day. Jake thought about the millions of Vexarian males who now had purpose and meaning in their lives. He thought about the children who would grow up with caring fathers. He thought about the families that could finally be true partnerships. "No," he said with a smile. "I helped change an entire civilization. That's worth a little embarrassment." The story of Jake Morrison and the day he lactated for aliens became legendary among both humans and Vexarians. It was told as an example of how courage, science, and understanding between species could create positive change for everyone. And Jake never had to worry about being forgotten. His name was carved in stone monuments on the Vexarian homeworld, honored forever as the human who proved that biology had no limits on the capacity to nurture and care.